Hello, and welcome to Music and Globalization. We've all been through a lot this year, so please enjoy some images of capybaras while I tell you about this module. Maybe I'll replace the images with informative slides later, or maybe I'll stick with capybaras. Either way, let's get started. In this module, we will explore how music intersects with globalization and global mobility. Whether through travel, trade, migration, or telecommunications, music moves through circuits that connect the local and the global. Together we will learn about concepts that help us think and talk about these topics, and we'll work through examples and case studies that highlight music, movement, and the world as a system of flows and connections. We will explore how people experience music on the move, why some musical actors are more mobile than others, and how the acceleration of global flows impacts musical life. During our class meetings, we will discuss topics such as how travel and migration shape music making and musical senses of place, how systems of mobility enable or constrain musical agency, the expansion of multinational media conglomerates, the impact of travel and tourism on local scenes, the influence of recording and telecommunications technologies upon musical production, distribution, and its consumption. Of course, we will have multiple opportunities to reflect on how the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted globalization and global musical mobility. You will be marked on 3 kinds of work in this module: weekly reading responses that you will post in discussion forums on Canvas, a brief essay, and a more in-depth research project. You can find more details about the assessments on Canvas, and we'll talk about them in the first week of classes. So, it's 2020, and the world is both literally and figuratively on fire, and it's kind of terrifying to be going back to school. Nobody is 100% okay these days, and it's entirely reasonable to feel overwhelmed, anxious, or lost. Before I delve into more details about this module, let me just take a moment here to reassure you that the first 2 weeks of classes will be a soft start. What I mean by this is that we are all figuring out what it means to teach and learn during a pandemic, and so our expectations should be softened during the first couple of weeks. I will keep the workload relatively light and flexible at first, and in exchange I ask for your patience as I deal with any technological or bureaucratic challenges that might arise. Everything is different and strange now. Everyone is doing their best under difficult circumstances. We need to be kind to each other and to ourselves. Your lecturers are being asked to redesign modules so that they can go online in an instant, and that is reflected in how this module is structured. So normally, in the before time, as I like to call it, a 20-credit seminar would meet once a week for 2 hours. Under the new bimodal teaching regime, these 2 hours are divided into 1 hour of asynchronous learning and 1 hour of synchronous learning. So what do these terms mean? Asynchronous learning means learning that you do on your own time at your own pace. This will usually be a patchwork of short videos, music, blog posts, creative exercises, news reports, images, and maybe even short stories or games. You can start on this material as early as you like, but it will be designed so that you can engage with all of it within an hour. Synchronous learning is where everyone in class is learning at the same time, whether that is virtually or in person. This can be a group Zoom meeting or an in-person meeting depending on the circumstances. It is during this hour of synchronous learning that we will discuss the weekly readings and the asynchronous content. In addition to the 2 hours of focused learning, you should plan to spend at least 6 hours per week on academic readings for this module. You will be required to read these texts closely and then prepare a set of reading responses each week, which will be posted in the discussion forums on Canvas. In any case, here's what your weekly routine would look like. During the week between classes, you'd spend about 6 hours preparing academic readings. During the day or on the day before class, you would submit your reading responses for those academic readings. Before our synchronous class meeting, you would engage with the asynchronous content, and then at our synchronous class meeting, you would come prepared to discuss academic readings and the asynchronous content. So that's essentially 6 hours of prep plus 1 hour of asynchronous learning, and then you should be ready for the class meeting. Before I let you go, one more important detail. Our synchronous class meetings will not be recorded, and this is in the interest of protecting everyone's privacy. Instead, we will be working on a collective set of class notes, which everyone can use for future study and review. These notes will be hosted either on Google Docs or Microsoft OneNote, depending on what is more accessible. I'll follow up with more information by the first day of class. That's it for now. Thanks for listening all the way to the end. Take good care of yourself, support and amplify each other, And don't forget to wash your hands.